The Sports Car Championship Canada is taking it to the streets in Quebec. Canada's fastest growing series makes its inaugural appearance at the Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières.
The Sports Car Championship Canada heads into Trois-Rivières for the first time. North America's oldest street race will show no mercy with its fast straightaways and tight twists. Canada's premier GT4 and TCR class look to showcase its luxury brand of speed on its second consecutive street course. Welcome to the 7th race of the 2022 Sports Car Championship Canada. Welcome to the 52nd annual Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières. I'm Dave Bradley, along with sports car elite racer Kyle Marcelli. Kyle's 16 TCR and GT4 cars lined up to run a dusk race here at Trois-Rivières. So unique.
That's right, Dave. What a fantastic racing circuit. Iconic street course, 11 corners, 3 great overtaking opportunities, and various narrow sections of the racetrack that you got to respect.
And you can see from qualifying here, multiple teams tried to lock in their race setups. The 10 of Jeremy Daniel, who has dominated the TCR division, was fastest for his group, while points leader in the GT4 category, Zachary Vanier, posted the second fastest time, right behind the Mercedes factory driver of Romain Monti in the number 57. Monti making his very first start here in the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada, presented by Michelin.
Temperatures are warm, some 28 degrees Celsius, and these drivers got a lot to deal with inside of the car, navigating a narrow street course, let alone dealing with the temperatures. You know, I know as a racing driver myself, heat is one of the most challenging things I deal with, and you just don't get the airflow on a street course that you would on a permanent road course.
Taking a look at the last street circuit we raced on in Toronto. And it was tight confines, but once they got into lap traffic, it was Gavin Sanders who made a move around Zachary Vanier. That sealed the victory for that team, his first win in the Sports Car Championship Canada. Of course, Richard Boak won in the TCR division as well. What a race. And earlier we caught up to the president of the Sports Car Championship Canada, got his take on where the series is at midway through season number 2.
Chris Bai is the man behind the Sports Car Championship Canada. We're midway through season number 2, and it is amazing to see the growth and still the potential of this series.
Yeah, we're super excited. We have 16 cars here at GP3R, and you know, it's a good field. We'd like to be at 20, but we've got real quality fields, having a GT4 license and a TCR license. There's been new cars purchased for next year. We've heard from many of the teams, so we're really excited, and we've got some news coming up in the next few weeks, and it looks like we're going to add a third class, homologated cars that will make it a little bit easier for people to get into the series from a financial standpoint.
A lot of inquiries, a lot of questions being asked about teams and other potential partners as well.
Yeah, we're working hard on getting a title sponsor. Michelin's been a great partner, Ontario Tech University, and we've got a bunch of irons in the fire. And the teams are super excited. You know, we're staying the course. We're only running homologated cars. That was our commitment in the beginning. And we'd rather start off a little bit slow and build the fields gradually, and give these guys a relevant place to race. If they win in a GT4 or TCR car this weekend, people take notice.
Congratulations, Chris.
Thanks very much.
As he said, people take notice. If you win here, that's a feather in the cap. That's a bucket list race that just about any racing driver wants to win.
You can see the field lined up here on the front straightaway at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. Let's head down trackside for today's command.
Maintenant, pour prononcer l'invitation traditionnelle à lancer les moteurs, c'est un professionnel de la Ligue nationale de hockey et c'est un arbitre. Il s'appelle Michel Cormier.
Pilote, démarrez vos moteurs. Drivers, start your engine.
Done with a little bit of attitude here for the Sports Car Championship Canada as the field comes to life here on the front straightaway. Good look at the onboard shot from Jeremy Daniel, your points leader in the TCR division. Connor Attrell will carry a camera. Look at how many cars he's got in front of him.
Yeah, now we're on board with Richard Boak. He had a great outing in Toronto. We'll see what things bring today for him on the streets of Trois-Rivières.
See that sign? Lights on. The sun getting heavy on the horizon and falling behind some of the buildings here, and we will be racing into the darkness when we return here on TSN for the Sports Car Championship Canada. Welcome back to race number 7 of the Sports Car Championship Canada, presented by Michelin. We're in Trois-Rivières, Quebec, prepared to roll off the field here from the front straightaway. The engines are fired, the lights are on, and it is getting darker. So this will be the first time this series has raced with their lights on. Should be interesting. Let's take a look at today's starting lineup as the field starts to roll. You can see Romain Monti making his first start, and he will make that start from pole position, starting alongside Zachary Vanier. Row number 2 has Charles Robin, the teammate to Romain Monti, in the number 56, Jeremy Daniel in the 10, solid qualifier there.
Row 3, the 84 of Richard Boak and the 21 of Jean-François Hebert.
And then we have Justin Di Benedetto and Jocelyn Hebert make up row number 4. Row 5 has Bob Attrell in the 88, Gary Kwok in the 66.
And row 6, Ron Tomlinson alongside the 55 of Tom Kwok.
Then we'll take a look back to row number 7. That's where we find Dean Baker in the 52, Connor Attrell in the number 80.
Row 8, Gilles Nadeau and the 86 of Quinn Attrell.
So that is your starting lineup for today's race here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, a second street circuit. So a lot of these drivers, again, they have now cut their teeth on a street circuit racing in Toronto, but coming to the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, this is a little bit different. It seems to be rough in some spots, but pretty smooth in others.
Yeah, it sure is, Dave. You know, each street course has its nuances. It's up to the drivers to figure it out, you know, where the bumps are, where the overtaking opportunities are. But I tell you, this is golden hour for sports car racing. I love it when the headlights are on. It's going to make for a great race.
Have you raced in the dark before?
Oh, many a times. You know, the Super Bowl race for us is the 24 Hours of Daytona, which kicks off our season, 12 Hours of Sebring, and a number of others. So a different element, but it makes things exciting.
Yeah, it's a totally different skill, isn't it? As the field lines up 2 by 2, we're looking for the start, so a couple more corners here before we get onto the main straightaway, and we'll set these cars loose. In Toronto, we had a split start, so the GT4 started up front, and the TCRs came up after a short pause in behind. This time, where you qualify is where you start on the grid. That's why you see the 10 of Jeremy Daniel so far up, starting in 4th position right now. The first turn will be a right-hander. It's one of the good passing opportunities here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. And they'll work through turn number 11 onto the front straightaway. The field slows it up just a little bit. Watch for the green flag as the revs start to pick up. The green waves, and we're underway in the Sports Car Championship Canada.
Looks like a great jump on the inside by the 56. Does he make it stick? No.
Not quite, Monty. A little wiggle out of turn 1. Look, that opens the door. Zachary Vanier pokes through in the McLaren and into the lead in the number 9.
That's an important move on the opening lap. It's a tight, twisty racing circuit. Track position is everything.
JF Evie was on the outside in the number 21, and a couple Hondas poked through. That was both Kwoks in the 55 and 66, I should say. Managed to get through. I think Richard Boak did as well in the 84.
Yeah, Vanier's off to an early lead. Looks like he had about 8 to 10 car lengths going into turn 6. You wonder if that McLaren's just set up to get the tire temperature early, whereas these Mercedes are just going to take a little bit longer to get the tires up to temp.
And there goes Evie. He had problems in turn 3 by getting passed by several cars, and now off in the runoff area in turn number 6. So watch from on board the number 21.
Tough to say. It didn't seem like there was much of a lockup or even a challenge getting the downshift done. Really difficult from that point of view to say what went wrong.
The problem is for JFEV is we stay under green now, and that's going to let this lead pack stretch an enormous gap. He's going to hope for a caution just to be able to tag on to the tail of the field. As your second place driver, 1.7 seconds back in one lap. So Zachary Vanier has that car dialed in up front early on. Romain Monti, that's a name unfamiliar to most here in Canadian motorsports. A driver out of France, is a factory Mercedes driver by day and has been running in the GT4 series in Europe.
Yeah, very cool story. Obviously a fantastic event so far to qualify on the front row and to be in second place right now. We'll see how things carry on over the next 37 minutes.
Quick ride on board with Richard Boak. You see him at work. The clear visor's on right now, and that's because the sun is going down, and the sun does pose a little bit of a problem as it starts to set. You can see some glare in certain areas.
Absolutely. Cars look like they're making their way through a little bit of oil dry in that last sector of the lap. That'll clean up as time goes on.
You've been here on this track. Where is your favorite place on this track to make up time?
Well, I like where the cars are entering right now. This turn 3 section, very tight. You know, the television doesn't quite give it justice, but a very difficult, tight section to get right. Leads onto a long straightaway, produces a lot of lap time if you get it right.
That corner exit, we've seen some drivers stumble in qualifying and corner exit, and it really scuttles their time pretty quickly because, look, you can make a mistake and then you get swallowed up as the 84 under pressure now from, it looks like the 55 of Tom Kwok, and deep into the braking zone goes the 84 Richard Boak.
Yeah, we're seeing quite a bit of this already early on. Again, with cold Michelins on these race cars right now and a bumpy street circuit, lockups are easy. We saw Boak get it wrong there just that lap.
So Boak was running just outside the top 5 overall as your race leader, and there he sits in the number 84. Didn't hit anything, which is good news for the Blanchette Motorsports team. So he didn't bounce off any walls. He just ran it off into the runoff area. So that's designed in a couple areas of this track to give drivers an opportunity, if they do in fact get it wrong, that they're not going to be penalized wholeheartedly.
Yeah, he's going to be looking for reverse now, which is never easy to find in a race car.
Look at Jeremy Daniel, though, in the 10. He has 3 GT4 cars just ahead of him, but yet he is keeping touch. And that's the beauty of this series. With a GT4 car, they're pushing about 500 horsepower, but a tight track like this, you don't get to use all of those horsepower.
Yeah, we see this in various other sports car championships globally, you know, where you'll have TCR and GT4 intermixed. You know, the GT4 cars really shine on a high-speed, you know, fast racing circuit, but here on the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, this is a short technical lap. You're seeing Jeremy Daniel. I mean, he's doing a fantastic job here to keep the pace of the GT4 cars ahead. But you're right, it is a lighter race car in that the TCR. He's going to navigate some of the twisty sections a little bit easier.
Of course, that's a front-wheel drive powered car too in the TCR division, turbocharged 4-cylinder against these rear-wheel drive beasts of the GT4 class. We've seen, you know, Ford Mustangs take part in the GT4 class over the course of 2022. You're on board with one of the Mercedes AMG cars. You have a McLaren just ahead. So a variety of different makes, and that's what makes this series so great. And what else is super cool about this, you heard Chris By off the top talk about homologated cars and how we only run homologated cars. That's his goal for this series in 2022 and beyond. But that allows these drivers to take this car and run down in the U.S. They can pack it on a ship and go run in Europe if they want. Same rules.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's become the new form of sports car racing globally. You know, championships such as IMSA. You know, you can take this car and head down south and race there. It's a fantastic opportunity for drivers and teams. You know, also just from a balance of performance standpoint, these series collects a lot of data globally to keep these cars equal and competitive.
Right now we're in the midst of a good one here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. Zachary Vanier, your early overall leader. Welcome back to the 52nd running of the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières and the Sports Car Championship Canada presented by Michelin. That is how tight it is at the front of the field. Top 3 cars, all GT4, all covered under a blanket.
We're seeing Vanier's early lead diminish just a little bit over the last few laps. The 2 Mercedes have closed the gap some. And, you know, speaking from a bit of personal experience, having raced that Mercedes GT4, the car does take some time to generate front tire temperature with that long wheelbase. You know, you wonder if that's what's working now, or is it strategy?
Well, you talked about something off the top of the show, and it was with referencing the driver temperature inside these race cars, but thinking a little bit about braking temperature as well. Not a lot of crosswind with walls on the both sides, so these drivers have to be careful as Kwok. He is several laps down. He's trying to make his way back up through the field.
And you see the glowing rotors there as they work their way through a relatively slow section of the lap, but the brakes are still hot, you know, from the turn 6 brake zone as well as turn 8. You know, a lot of braking around this racetrack and not a lot of time to cool them. There you see again those front rotors just glowing.
Yeah, you just have a short run down these straightaways. I mean, the back straightaway is probably your best opportunity to get air into those brakes. But these are high-performance cars. Are they a little bit more robust than something else that might be running on this track over the course of the weekend?
Yeah, none of these cars or teams should be concerned at all with brake wear. Certainly, you know, pad compounds and thicknesses will survive. You know, the 45-minute sprint race here today. No concerns there.
Looking at the lap time, so Romain Monti is starting to chip away at that lead that was built up by Zachary Vanier in the Pfaff Motorsports entry. Now it is just 0.7 of a second. Vanier's lead. Remember, not too long ago, he was almost 2 seconds in the McLaren. So Monti is definitely coming. A patient driver waiting for the car to come to him, and now he is setting his hooks on the back of that McLaren.
Yeah, you got to wonder if Vanier, you know, knew the value of getting that early lead and maybe set up the car accordingly to be a little more aggressive on the tire to generate the temperature, get the lead early, and then hang on. You know, or is it the opposite with the Mercedes? We'll have to see over the next 30 minutes, but interesting stuff unfolding.
Good look at Connor Trell in the Hyundai Veloster. Just ahead of this man, the 84 of Richard Kwok, who, as we mentioned, had a runoff in turn 6, got it turned around, back on track, but he did lose a lap in the process. That grinding noise that you hear under braking going into turn number 6, that's a lot of the bumps going in there. It seems to be right in the brake zone is where it does get the roughest.
Yeah, you're just hearing the transmission, you know, on the downshifts. You know, certainly a bumpy brake zone, and you know, we saw that affected just with some lockups, but pretty straightforward. And in terms of the downshift, you're hearing the drivetrain.
Nighttime racing is definitely a unique beast, as you can actually see the glow of the tailpipes on some of these cars. You saw it on the 80 of a Trell. We've seen some flames out of the back of the McLaren as well from Zachary Vanier at the front of the field, and that's not the flashing of the headlights yet. That'll come.
Yeah, I can imagine so. You know, that's the bumps in the racing circuit that you're seeing. And you know what it's like just driving on the street at night when you've got high beams in your rearview mirror. It becomes a bit blinding. So easy to make mistakes. It's important that Zach stays focused. You know, one corner at a time, one lap at a time.
Monti is so quick though in this Sody Kart backed Mercedes AMG. as he is soaked right up to the back bumper now of that McLaren. It looks like through 9, 10, and 11 is really where he's able to flex his muscles. Zachary Vanier's not bad on the exit of turn number 3, and that allows him to hold down the straightaway. They almost get out to that concrete wall.
Yeah, it's an ebb and flow, give and take. You know that McLaren is strong in a straight line. It's also compliant and very good over the bumps, actually. Whereas, you know, the Mercedes is, you know, we could see strong in the brake zones and in that late technical section of the lap.
And they're starting to use more and more of that runoff area on the exit of turn number 6. The concrete wall has been pushed back there by design, because that would be an awfully tight corner if it wasn't there. So the drivers tend to hold it pretty firm early on, and then once the tires start to get a little bit more warmed up, that's when they start to use more and more of it. But look, here is where Monti is so good. Through turn number 11 onto this straightaway. Can he make something work into turn number 1? Not quite there, but continues to put in lap times a little bit quicker than your race leader. About 0.2, a tenth and a half here and there. It's chip, 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 here I come.
Yeah, doing a fantastic job, Monti. You know, not what you wouldn't think this is the first sports car race for this factory Sodi car driver, but a fantastic job.
Welcome back to the Sports Car Championship Canada, presented by Michelin here on TSN. As the field works through turn number 3, we're riding on board with Charles Robin, currently 3rd place in the GT4 class and 3rd place overall. Now you can see it is starting to get a little bit darker, so that's going to challenge these drivers just a little bit more. We started this race in daylight, albeit a little bit dusky. I mean, it was starting to get, the shadows were starting to get a little bit long, but we will finish this in nighttime. So it's a new challenge for the Sports Car Championship Canada Series, and some of these drivers have never turned a wheel at nighttime.
Yeah, love that section right there, turn 8, that bending brake zone, quite a fast left-hander. Probably my second favorite part of the racetrack.
There's a lot of favorite parts of this racetrack, and a lot of drivers do have fond memories of this place and really come to life when racing here. The number 89 of Hebert is one of them. He has been on the podium more than any other sports car driver in this race. As a matter of fact, he's looking for his 25th career podium here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, which is incredible.
Oh, wow. That's unbelievable. Working our way through a little bit of TCR traffic as your leader, Zach Vanier, as they head down the back straightaway into turn 3. Sorry, that's turn 6.
I love that McLaren, because you can hear everything with the engine in the back, and you can hear a lot of the suspension working. You see the brakes glowing bright red on the 52 of Dean Baker as he works on the back end of the 61. That's Gilles Nadeau in the Porsche Club Sports, and that's a GT4 and a TCR, and here they are mixing and mingling.
Yeah, again, this isn't a racing track where the GT4 is going to utilize the horsepower advantage, so not uncommon to see you know, some front-running TCR cars work their way through the back half of GT4.
In through the Duplessis gates in that iconic turn number 3. We're 26 minutes left here in a 40-minute timed race for the Sports Car Championship Canada, presented by Michelin. And there you can see it's that horsepower down the straightaway that Gilles Nadeau is able to use. Dean Baker falls back, but he'll get him back through turns 8, 9, 10, and 11.
Yeah, this can sometimes be a challenging situation, you know, when you're Dean Baker, you know, working on the back of a GT4 car, not for class position, but he's got another TCR that looks like it's closing up on his bumper, so he's going to want to be mindful of that and try to be smart getting clear of this GT4 car.
And that will be for position. You remember JF Evie had an off in turn number 6, had to spin around, got back on track, did not lose a lap, and now he is trucking. If you look at lap times, it's about 2 seconds a lap quicker than that battle ahead of him, Dean Baker and Gilles Nadeau. So he is coming, no doubt, elbows out, steam coming out of the helmet. He's likely frustrated with himself, but sometimes drivers turn their best laps in anger, essentially.
Absolutely.
Good look at that battle for the lead, though. Zachary Vanier in the 9 has led since the early moments of this race. Romain Monti, the factory Mercedes driver from France, making his first start here today. Started on pole, lost the lead in turn number 2, and Zachary Vanier has led ever since. There's the 4 of Di Benedetto. And the 88 of Bob Attrell, the Hyundai Racing Canada Quaker State entry. And the Elantra N moves to the inside in turn number 1.
Oh, fantastic move down the inside, and looks like it opened up the door for the 84 of Boak as well, following Attrell through.
That moves Attrell up into the top 5 in the TCR division. Boak will come through, still a lap down, but he's still fighting his way back up through this field, trying to catch a break, or maybe, you know, hopefully pass the leaders under his own power, and then maybe he can catch a break with a caution that way. But you never really want to give up, do you?
That, or, you know, this just becomes a testing opportunity. You know, there's another race this weekend, and he's going to, you know, use what track time he can now to just learn what the car is going to do over the race stint, and maybe make adjustments for tomorrow.
Connor Trellis quietly had a great run going in that Hyundai Veloster. He started towards the tail of the field, and Di Benedetto off the pace. He actually has his flasher on as he looks for pit lane in the TCR class. So a driver who is in 5th in the TCR class not 2 laps ago is now down pit lane. This is an unscheduled stop.
Yeah, it almost looks like the left rear, driver's side rear, was sagging a little bit as he came into pit lane. Wonder if maybe had a shock go bad, or a tire going down.
He'll make his way to his pit stall, and actually Todd is standing by as he joins him in pit lane. Todd?
Guys, they're checking the front alignment and steering on this 4 car. The driver's been complaining to the team that it is not right and it is not handling well. And that's why he is along pit road.
Now, you remember at our last stop on the streets of Toronto, Di Benedetto had an unfortunate coming together with a concrete wall. The team did their best putting that car back together, but timelines are very short between those 2 races. So potentially just an adjustment that needs a little tweaking, but better safe than sorry. Pit, make sure it's right.
Yeah, that's a great point. It could be as simple as you know, just a rear toe link that's moving around just a little bit, and that's going to affect the steering, and absolutely, that's a great point from the streets of Toronto.
Now just 0.3 of a second, the difference between the 2 front runners, but don't count out the 56. Charles Robin has been runner-up pretty much every step of the way this year. He's 2nd in points coming into this race, and he's right there ready to pounce as well.
Yeah, we saw last time by, I think it was 0.2 of a second quicker for both the 2nd and 3rd place car over Vanier. So the Mercedes are coming on strong right now, and again, yeah, great point about Charles Robin. He fantastic drive in Toronto. He was there ready to pounce, and we're seeing it again today.
Now look at the traffic just ahead of your race leader, the number 9 of Zachary Vanier, staring at that battle. Dean Baker and Gilles Nadeau just ahead, so they were having their own fight. You can see Vanier quick on those high beams. Get out of the way. He's looking for the marshals to show the blue flags as well. He remembers what happened in Toronto. Remember, into that TCR traffic, that cost him the race win.
Yeah, this is the opportunity that you want if you're Romain Monti or Charles Robin. Not necessarily what you want when you're the leader coming into traffic, but you do have the advantage of being the lead car and making the hole through. We'll see how this plays out.
Solid gentleman move there from the 61 of Gilles Nadeau. He pulled way to the outside. Now Dean Baker is going to do the exact same thing. Saw the leader coming up, went to the outside, actually locked up to make sure he stuck to the inside. Monti took a trip through that runoff area in turn number 11. Did not gain any position, so he'll be able to hold that spot as the 57 continues to give chase, but that was benefit Vanier through that exchange.
Yeah, it certainly was. We see him open up the gap just a little bit, a sigh of relief if you're the leader right now.
Still a lot of racing to go, though. 20 minutes left in this timed event, and what I love about that McLaren up at the front is you can see the blue flame out of the exhaust pipe as the drivers get off. We ride on board Charles Robin.
It's anybody's race right now in the top 3. Still lots of time left on the clock.
Oh, and up top you can see there is the 61, Gilles Nadeau. He went into the runoff area, grabbed reverse and backed up. It looks like he's stalled now. So that car stopped up in turn number 6. Still no caution. We stay green. You can see those brake rotors glowing on that McLaren. Out in front, there is the stop number 61 Porsche of Gilles Nadeau. That is in turn number 6, and he's not far enough into that runoff area.
Yeah, we've seen his hands up there, unsure if he's unable to get this car refired or what the situation is.
Still waiting for word from race control as the leaders work through turn number 3 and head down towards where Nadeau is. There, he finally gets it refired and back underway. So the good news, we will stay green and avoid a full course caution. That's good news for Zachary Vanier as he continues to hold off a hard-charging Romain Monti. So both those cars, second and third, prepared out of the Rilli Racing shop, but so far it's been all Zachary Vanier who's been able to hold them off. We'll be back for more from the streets of Trois-Rivières, Quebec. And welcome back to the Sports Car Championship Canada presented by Michelin on TSN. I'm Dave Bradley. Joined with me in the booth is Kyle Marcelli, and Todd Lewis is patrolling the pits for us trackside as we continue to watch this lead battle. Zachary Vanier, Romain Monti, and Charles Robin, and they've been about this far apart the entire race.
Yeah, the Mercedes looks strong right now. Romain Monti is just looking for an opportunity. They're coming into a little bit more of TCR traffic entering turn 1.
Watch the blue flame out of the back of the McLaren. I love seeing that as they work. You can see the 21 of JF Avey just ahead in that Audi out of the TRC Motorsports shop. Avey comes into this one second in points behind his teammate Jeremy Daniel. Jeremy Daniel, we should say, continues to lead in the TCR division. He's had a very, very strong day. He's just all by himself on the racetrack, so it can't really show anything. I mean, he's right now just running by himself.
Yeah, it's certainly getting dark out there. And if you're that leader right now, it's all blind behind you. You know, you just see headlights in the rearview mirror, and you need to stay focused what's in front of you. Again, one corner at a time, hit your marks. Still got 17 minutes, lots of race time left.
I guess that's the thing, too. When you start working through TCR traffic, you look in your mirror and you see headlights and you think it's that TCR car you just passed. But, oh, no, it could be Romain Monti making a move.
That's a great point. Cars working their way into turn 1. Quick right-hander. Really wide on the exit. Tightens up then for turn 2. Continues to tighten up even more as they head underneath the bridge into turn 3.
Under 20 minutes left to go. As a matter of fact, just over 16 minutes left in this race. So the two Mercedes drivers will have to start thinking about making a move, because it is getting into the point where you have to make a move or just follow along. But it looks like from this point on, that's where the Mercedes cars are faster than the McLaren just ahead. This is where Vanier struggles just a little bit compared to Monti and Charles Robin.
Yeah, and if you're Monti or Charles Robin, you got to know that. You got to know where your car's strong and think multiple corners ahead, getting ready to set up that pass. And this does look like the section that he's going to go for it.
The only problem is there's not a lot of really good passing opportunities there. I mean, you can make a pass in turn number 9. You might be able to stick it in turn number 8, but that's kind of about it.
Yeah, if he can use that brake zone in turn 8 to close the gap, and
there it goes, turn 2. Romain Monti to the lead as he moves underneath Zachary Vanier in a move that was set up on the exit of turn number 1. So exactly what Zachary Vanier did to him.
Smooth like a cat. I don't think Vanier saw that coming. I certainly didn't.
Oh, a little nudge now down the straightaway as Monti took that defensive line on the inside. Vanier was hoping that Monti would open it back up and he could stick the pass on the inside. That opportunity never came.
Now, if I'm Vanier, I'm going to be looking to get that spot back right away. You can't let the dust settle. You got to attack right away. But it seems like Monti's just getting away.
Boy, well, you're going through that 9, 10, and 11 complex where Monti has been so good. You see how wide he pushes on the exit. So Monti is on full charge mode at this point right now as the back end swings out a little bit on that Mercedes AMG. The McLaren is just trying to close the gap now, but Vanier's going to look in his mirror because here comes Charles Robin.
Yeah, let's see if Charles Robin can make anything of this as well. I don't think it's going to happen in 2, because if I'm Vanier, I'm going to keep the door closed there.
You make the mistake once, you fool me once. Have another look out of the front window from Charles Robin.
Beautiful, clean move up the inside. Both drivers very aware, very respectful. You know, you got to wonder if that was planned or if that was instinct in the moment.
Yeah, the door just sort of opened. He had a little bit of a run. He stuck it in there as Vanier swept to the outside to continue to try and carry that momentum through turn number 2, and eventually it cost him.
Working our way through turns 9, 10, 11, the last sector of the lap, narrow, tight part of the lap, onto the front straightaway on board with Charles Robin.
I love that shot because you get to see the dash, especially at nighttime where you see the lights light up, but you can see what gear they're running in. You can hear how low the RPMs get. So it's a pretty solid second gear sector in those Mercedes AMG cars. There is Jeremy Daniel in the TRC Motorsport entry. He has been on cruise control since the start of this one. Started on pole in the TCR class, and he has nobody in his rearview mirror, and he has nobody out the front as well. So he is just having a cruising day here on the streets of Trois-Rivières. But he's been so smooth. You listen to him.
Yep, no pressure from behind. He's, you know, he's in a great spot right now, executed flawlessly all day.
So Jeremy Daniel continues to lead in the TCR class. We'll be back. Welcome back. As you see our new race leader, Romain Monti, pass through your screen. This now a battle for second place between Zachary Vanier and Charles Robin. Second place in GT4 and second place overall. It's a big difference running here compared to running at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. When you go down the Andretti straightaway in one of these cars, you're really flying.
Yeah, you see the lights on the dash, when they flash purple, he's active in the ABS under braking. You see them just there, and you see the blue lights come on, he's active in the traction control.
That's really interesting. So funny on a track as tight as this, that all of that automation comes into play. Do you find it helps as a driver, or does it take some getting used to?
No, it's definitely a very valuable tool. Absolutely, and you know, they can the lights can be programmed accordingly. You know, depending on the slip that you want in traction control, for example, more or less intrusive, but definitely a valuable tool as a driver, just to have that as in your peripheral.
Battle for the top 5 in the TCR class. Bob Attrell in the 88 has that 5th position, but it is the 66 of Gary Kwok who now sneaks through in turn number 1, and he will take it over. You can see the 80 of Connor Attrell just in behind as Bob Attrell smokes the right front tire going through turn number 2.
Yeah, good battle here in TCR with these 4 cars. And, you know, one thing we didn't touch on yet, but it's getting dark. And, you know, with the headlights on, that lead driver, you know, when you're in a defensive position, as we see there down the back straightaway with the 66 defending on the inside, it's difficult to see where that car behind is placing itself, right? And you don't want to have contact and end up in the wall. So you end up leaving a little bit more margin.
There you saw the 88 trying to make a move on the outside, and it actually cost him a position. Connor Attrell snuck through underneath, and now Bob Attrell has left a gap back to his son and teammate Connor Attrell as they work their way through turn number 9. There's Bob Attrell with Kwok and Attrell into the wall, front and back. A big hit for the driver of the 88.
That's big contact for the 88.
So the 84 of Richard Kwok was on the inside of turn number 9, and Bob Attrell just came across and it looked like he caught into the path of the 84. This is obviously a full course caution with 2 cars and the debris littering the track just on the exit of turn number 9. Have another look at what happened.
Yeah, you see Kwok's on the inside, just as I was saying earlier. Attrell has no idea he's there. You know, the lights behind effectively blind you from where that car has positioned itself, and caught him out and turned him into the wall.
It was a big hit on the front, but an even bigger hit on the back. Watch this.
Yeah, I think Attrell had no idea he was there. Once Kwok got alongside, the lights disappeared, and I think Attrell just had no idea where Kwok was.
Wow, heavy damage too. Even in a slow section of the circuit, look at the back. That was the hit when the car rolled back across the track. And the problem with concrete walls on both sides is there's no place to dissipate that energy before you make contact with the concrete wall. So the 88 sits stopped as we're under a full course caution here in the Sports Car Championship Canada, presented by Michelin. The first ever race here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, and it ends abruptly for Bob Attrell. Swings to the outside, contact with Kwok, and you can see the wall move actually, and then there, it's an even bigger hit as the medical team now heads to the side. There is Bob Attrell. He's able to get out. Obviously he's going to be a little bit stunned and a little bit tender in spots for sure.
Yep, yeah, absolutely. He's going to be sore and just disappointed too. You know, that wasn't for position. It certainly was not intentional, just a lack of visibility.
Red flag now shown as the field lines up along pit lane. So we're going to see if we can get this cleaned up here on the exit of turn number 9. We'll be back with more on TSN. With that red flag, time has now run out, and this race has now been declared official. Let's head down pit side to Todd.
Romain.
Yes.
It ended a little prematurely, but
yes.
Tell me about that pass that gave you the lead.
Yeah, I was like really like otherwise behind the McLaren. I knew his weakness was this corner. I tried a little bit earlier, but I couldn't. This time I was like carrying much more speed into the corner, and I dived for it, and he let me just the place to go. So it was like fair racing. Congrats to him, because he was like flying. He was like flying in the beginning of the race, so it was really cool.
Terrific battle to watch, and then you seemed to pull out a bit of a gap and be able to hold on without too much of a challenge.
Yeah, in the end it was okay for me. I was suffering in the beginning, but in the end I could make the gap. What was really difficult, it was like the lap car. It ended in the wall, unfortunately for them. But it was like, you know, a new challenge, because once you are in the front, you just want to have a clean race, and you don't want to overtake a lap car and to have cars in the wall and so on. So in the end, it was like really stressful. But I want to thank SH Karting, Rilli Racing, and Mercedes AMG for the car.
Congratulations, merci.
Thank you.
Welcome to Canadian Street Racing, Romain Monti from France, as he takes the win here on the streets of Trois-Rivières. His first start in the Sports Car Championship Canada, presented by Michelin. We'll have a look at your final results.
Big win for Romain Monti and Zachary Vanier. Again, a fantastic day, great racing, great start, and P2 result for him.
And you can see that Jeremy Daniel won the TCR class as well, and we'll head back down pit side where Todd's caught up with your second place finisher. Todd?
Zachary, second place finish is not where you want to be. It looked like you were in control. Take me through what happened.
Yeah, I mean, it was still a really good race for us in terms of championship. You know, we finished ahead of Charles again, so we extend the lead, which is, you know, of course, our ultimate goal in the season to win the championship. I mean, drop of the green flag, I was on it right away, and went on the outside of turn one with Romain, and had a lot of respect, you know, for him and for him to me as well. So carried it into turn two on the inside, and I knew I could fire up a lot sooner than they could, so I just tried to take advantage of it. But over the course of the long run, the Mercedes is just so strong right now that, you know, ultimately he was just, I knew he was kind of watching me to see where he was stronger and where I was stronger. And then I left the door open and he took advantage of it. And then, yeah, I mean, just from there it was just a matter of managing the car and managing the race. I mean, super happy with it. The performance was good, and yeah, happy with it. Thank you.
Another note in the textbook for Zachary Vanier as he continues to grow as a professional race car driver. And there it is, a good points day, 7 now up on Charles Robin. What's great for Vanier is that he's able to come second to visiting drivers, so he doesn't give up that lead in the championship hunt. There is the podium in the GT4 class, Monti, Vanier, and Charles Robin. Let's head down to Todd with your winner in TCR.
Jeremy Daniel, first time for SCCC here at the Grand Prix Trois-Rivières, TCR winner. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I mean, it was quite a nice race in the dark. It's always very fun, and I mean, up from the start, I showed I had a very good pace, and that I still deserve to win this championship, and I'm the fastest TCR driver here.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
A fantastic day for Daniel, a confident drive, comfortable drive, and he executed well.
And there you can see he stretches his lead atop the point standings in the TCR class. His teammate JF Evie, Ron Tomlinson, both with that unfortunate contact, falls down into 4th spot. Taking the top step of the podium is Jeremy Daniel in the TCR class, and you can hear the crowd so supportive of this championship here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, in a race that started in daylight, and it was active right from the start.
This racetrack never disappoints. It was another exciting, high-octane day on the racing track. We'll look forward to more tomorrow.
There you can see Vanier snuck through for the lead. He led for the majority of this race as daylight gave way to nighttime. And the lights on these cars shone brightly into the mirrors, and Romain Monti put his lights right into the top spot in that epic pass in turn number 1. Crews were watching intently for this entire race distance because traffic was so tight, and then heartbreak at the end there for the 88 of Bobitrel, and that was the crash with Richard Boak that ultimately brought out the red flag, and that led to the checkered flag as Bobitrel unable to finish this one. But there are the drivers who stepped on the podium in celebration here at the 52nd running of the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. From all of us here at Fuel Media Lab, we'll see you next time.